then worked there postgraduate, and then worked overseas for companies like GlaxoSmithKline, for Diabetes Australia, before working for Sydney Medics Hospital for almost 2 decades as their diabetes nurse consultant, during which time I became the first nurse to get a Medicare provider number. More recently, I've been working for some of the government organisations and one that used to be the Division of General Practice. And during that time, when we're looking at all the different vaccines and things, that I became aware that there was some irregularities with the vaccines, and in fact 17 research papers were withdrawn without anybody telling anyone about our doctors. And so all the research that says that vaccines don't cause autism was withdrawn at least 5 years ago. And finally, just in the last month or two, the CDC has at least put on their website that there's no proof that vaccines don't cause autism. There's actually proof to the opposite. There has been research that was done that has not been published, which is very disappointing. So when it came to the COVID mandates, I watched very carefully. I refused to have the vaccine, and good on the United Kingdom nurses, they refused also to have the vaccine. So the COVID vaccine was not mandatory in the United Kingdom. So that's something we really need to be thinking about. Now, what happened more recently is that I went and worked in Far West New South Wales. I was subject to wage theft. They did not pay me the contracted rate. There was 2 breaches of contract. I was threatened with litigation if I ever contacted them again, even though I was still in a state of wage theft. Then I was given a non-disclosure agreement that I refused to sign, and finally the Premier's office intervened and they at least back paid me. So, this is very disappointing to be subject to that behaviour, but it does get worse. So in November, a complaint was put in against me. They said in writing in the complaint that they hadn't actually investigated anything that was written in the complaint, and it was written by a woman who had already been stood down from New South Wales Health. I took it to New South Wales Police. They did actually register a case for fraud and make false document over that document. Unfortunately, somehow it's been dropped from a criminal case down to civil, which is disappointing indeed. But definitely the document that was used to stand me down was recognised as by the police of New South Wales as possibly fraudulent. And during the hearing where I stood down on supposed mental health grounds, they said that that document was the reason why they stood me down. They then tried to find, after the event, they tried to subpoena health records from mental health units. These records didn't exist because I've never been admitted to these units or any unit. So then they found their own psychiatrist who relied on all their information, refused to look at any of mine, said so. In the last week he's been looking at my information, but at the time, no, he didn't. So very disappointing. I've got 2 psychiatrists of my own that have said I'm fine, but it's just back and forward to court. These people are, it's very disappointing. So yes, in May of 2024, I became the first person in Australia to win a case of breach of my medical and religious human rights over the COVID vaccine. So I put in that case, and in particular it was important for me to get the religious side, because how they made those vaccines is with fetal cells, and to extract something, because they extract the fetal cells out of the live baby's sternum, and it's the most painful thing I've ever watched, is actually an extraction of something out of a sternum. So to think that a poor little newborn would have this happen to them is just terrible. And I've been trying to get truth from our government of how many babies they used. It looks like it was at least perhaps 200 babies. We don't know where they were from. Possibly, since some of these vaccines were made in China, it could have been Chinese nationals. We just don't know. What I do know is that I was able to win the case of breach of religious and medical human rights. I could have taken the case higher to the Supreme Court and got a really good outcome for me, but I really wanted to stay in the actual Human Rights Commission to get that religious aspect, because you can't get that in the Supreme Court. And so it's very disappointing that within 6 months I'm being, what somebody said, persecuted by the Nurses and Midwives Association and New South Wales Health. I stood down on mental grounds. I have repeatedly asked for evidence of why they've stood me down, and I've been given nothing. They've just come with post-dated information. They then did 2 subpoenas and found nothing. At a time when my cousin was actually on the board of the hospital, they were subpoenaing for medical records. They're saying I was a patient, which I wasn't. So these people, like even today, I've got some documents. The court case is Monday, and they've sent me heaps and heaps of documents. Apparently, the more paper they send, the more guilty you are or something. I've given them so much evidence that, you know, I'm fit to practice as a registered nurse, that I don't have the issues that they're saying. But the level of justice that we're having in our system at the moment really needs to be looked at. And what I'm really happy about, and I don't think the government employees understand, the solicitors, all of those people employed by the government, the Chevron case was overturned last year. The Chevron case is what protected them from prosecution as individuals, ex-government staff members. They no longer have that protection. So they need to understand every person in the government can be held personally, financially liable for their behaviour, for what they've been doing, and even policies that they're passing. They need to be able to prove that they're reasonable policies, not just made up because they decided to change their mind, which is what we're subject to at the moment. So if you'd like to support me, my case is next Monday. It's going to be the John Madison Tower. It's Monday and Tuesday. We're just two days of being cross-examined. So it's 86 to 90 Goulburn Street. Level 10 will be where they can tell you where I'll be, and it will start at 10 o'clock. I do ask that people come well dressed. It's a mental health hearing, since they've said that I'm mentally ill, so I would like people to well dress and to be polite to the court, please. So thank you for coming on, that'd be fantastic. So thank you very much for your support.
Sounds like you're doing a great job. If you're winning some cases, you won some cases.
Well, they never understood, how do I put it? When they've taken me on, they didn't understand me. When they put in the complaint against me, they didn't understand my level of wishing for the truth. And there's something that some people seem to think is a mental health issue, which is tenacity. But tenacity is very well respected in the military and the police. It's considered to be a really great attribute. So I'm very tenacious, and these people don't like that. And I've been very much criticised, even during my hearing. They had a go at me. The politician that was one of the 3 people at the hearing said, when are you going to give up? It's like, really? You're not doing the right thing. So I will give up when you do the right thing, not before. So this is something they do not understand, and I'm very, very pleased at least that Chevron case has been overturned, so all the government staff can be held financially liable for their actions, which they never understood could happen, and it can happen now. That case has been in place since about 86, so how long is that? We're talking, 40 years or something? So most of the people in the government don't know a time when they couldn't be held accountable, but now they can be. So this is a really big win for Australians, and hopefully it will result in our staff members, like the staff at NCAT and HCCC, actually doing the right thing, standing up, because they know they can literally be held financially accountable for their behaviour. So it's great news, and some of them, I know there are some very good people at the HCCC. I know that because I've met them, and I know there are good people at NCAT, but there are some bad eggs here and there.
They're the ones at the top.
Oh, how did you know that?
They're the people. No, because I say it to Miley every day.
Yeah.
I say every organisation's a pyramid, and the ones at the top are the psychopathic killers. The ones at the bottom are you and I.
Yeah, just the normal people, yeah. So now that the normal people know they can be held.
I'll get rid of it.
Yeah, so hopefully things will get better, but certainly for my case it's been a lot of injustice, I would say. Thank you.